we already know that a lot of men today are struggling in a lot of areas of their life. And we know that most men are average. That's just what the average is. The majority is average, right? But you don't have to stay average. You don't. It's really a choice. If you really want to be above average, if you want to be a top 10% man in America, it's not really as hard as it sounds. You know, a lot of people complain about, you know, the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. They talk about taxing corporations and tax the rich and all of this stuff. But a lot of people can be those people that they want to tax. And if they became those people, they'd understand why they have the benefits and advantages that they have and why the average and the below average don't. So let's walk through a few reasons and ways for you to ascend and no longer be average or median in the median, and for you to become a top 10% man, because you can do this if that's what you desire to do. So let's dive in. So realistically, it's easier than you think. You know, the average guy, he does the average things, right? The bar is in hell, guys. I'm telling you. Like, it doesn't take a lot of work to get to top 15, top 10%, maybe even top 5%. It's really just going to take time and a plan and a few other things, which we'll get to. But again, the bar is in hell. So doing just above the bare minimum will get you a lot further in life than doing the bare minimum and doing less than the bare minimum. So the big idea here is to be consistent, because like I said, it's going to take time. And where a lot of people mess up is they fall off. They might start off strong. They have the motivation, the inspiration. They listen to somebody like, I don't know, Alex Hermosi or Andrew Tate or whoever it was that gassed them up and made them feel like, yeah, I'm going to go do something. Like, I'm ready to be a better man. And then like 4 months later, they're back to doing whatever they were doing before, playing video games, watching porn, you know, chasing girls, you know, not learning or finding some kind of skill that they can learn to be better and to make more money, hanging out with their friends, partying, drinking, smoking, all of the above, right? Everything that pleases the senses, you know, everything that makes you feel comfortable and good and with fuzzy inside, right? But that's the problem, is people can't stay consistent. So if you can stay consistent for X amount of time, however long it takes, I can't tell you how long it's going to take. For some people, it's going to be a longer time period than others. But as long as you stay consistent, you too can be a top 10% man in this country. Believe me, I've done it. So again, the bar is in hell. It doesn't take a whole lot of work, but it does take some work. And again, it really just comes down to if you're willing to put in that work and continue to put in that work. Because some of you think that it ends at some point. You think that I'm going to do this amount of work and I'm going to get to a certain point and then I get to stop doing that amount of work. You know, people think about financial freedom, right? They think about passive income. They're like, oh, I just want to build something so that I can have financial freedom and passive income and then I don't have to work anymore. But that's not how it works. You still got to manage everything that you have this passive income. If you invest in real estate and you got a bunch of rental properties, you got to oversee those rental properties. And if you're not the property manager and you hire a property manager, you got to oversee the property manager because they could be a terrible property manager. And the same goes with investing in stocks. Same goes with starting your own business. Regardless of what you build that's generating some type of passive income, there's still going to be some level of attention that's required for all of those ventures. So you're never really off the hook. On top of that, think about the most successful men in this country to date. Think about Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, even the president. None of these dudes have retired. No one's like, I'm done working now. I'm just going to go sit down and like hang out at the beach with my family and just do nothing. These dudes work until they die because their value is so high and so important, and what they're bringing to this world is so impactful that they can't go sit down on the beach and do nothing. On top of that, you don't get to that level of success and just stop desiring or having goals to do stuff. Like, you don't want to build anymore. Usually people who are highly successful, they have other things that they want to do. They're usually some type of serial entrepreneur where they're working on multiple projects at a time. You know, they're not just working on one thing, they build it, they're done, and they just walk off into the sunset and relax. They built something else. A lot of people who are successful business people start multiple businesses. Many of them fail, but then the ones that do well, they build them up to a certain point and then they sell them and they do it all over again. Like, watch Shark Tank. You'll see this time and time again. But the main thing that you see across the board with all of these guys is they're consistent. So it's going to take consistency first and foremost. So, number one, if you want to be a top 10% man in this country, you have to first realize where the percentages and the brackets are of what it would take for you to be in that top 10% compared to where everybody else is. So the first place to start is weight. It's all about fitness. You know, I've been talking about fitness a lot more lately because, you know, I too have been on my fitness grind. I had fell off for about a year. I had some health issues. I had a kid. I was in law school, and I kind of just put fitness to the side. I never completely quit, but my diet was terrible. I was eating so much compared to how much I was exercising and working out, that those calories being consumed weren't being burned at the same rate. But I'm back. We in here. You know, I'm back on it now. So I'm not concerned about it at all. But 70% of men are overweight or obese in this country. 70%. That's almost every single guy. That is 7 out of 10 guys are overweight or obese. Now, before you get started and say, oh, well, that's based out of some outdated BMI index, blah, blah, blah. No, man, just walk outside and take a look. Everywhere that you go, first and foremost, food is advertised nonstop. Every commercial you see at some point or another is going to advertise something that you can eat or drink. So it's not some old outdated measuring system. It's common, man. Like, people just eat a lot. And, you know, even people, I've spoken to multiple people in other countries and who visited here from other countries that talk about how Americans' food portions are way larger than they are when you go back to whatever country that these people are from or where you're at. So it is what it is. So of that 70%, think about this, 39% are obese. So almost 4 out of 10 are clinically obese. Clinically obese. You know, that's pushing heart disease, diabetes, cholesterol, heart attack. Heart disease, the number one killer in this country. Heart disease, most of that comes from food. Of course, you could throw in smoking and lifestyle stuff as well, but most of that comes from poor diet. Let's just be honest. So, moving on, 34% are overweight. So that's 34%. You add that 34 to that 39, you round up. We're at 70%. We're over 70. We got 75. 75%. Overweight. For what? Why? And we know why. It's because we live in a time where there's really no one promoting or incentivizing someone to be healthy. No one's like holding anyone accountable to be in shape. There was a time where we had to hunt for our food, where survival of the fittest actually existed, where you had to be able to run, jump, throw, climb, whatever it was to catch your food and not be eaten and be somebody or something else's food. But we've built the world and society to a place where it's so established, where everything functions so smoothly that everything is convenient and at your fingertips. Think about it. I said this in a previous video once. We used to have to hunt. You used to have to get up and go out and find your food. Eventually, and then we had to grow food. We had to farm, harvest, plant crops, water, harvest, protect it from bugs and all kinds of other stuff. Harvest it, then sell it, and keep what was enough for the family. Then people started selling their food at grocery stores, and now you just get up and go to the grocery store. But then people started cooking food and called it fast food. So then you had fast food chains popping up where you no longer had to grow it or cook it. You can go to someone else that would cook it for you. You go get it, and then you can eat it. But it went on to evolve so that not only could you just go get the food in your car, but then you could actually drive through the drive-through and not even get out of your car. So your effort to eat has continuously digressed. It has continuously regressed. And the amount of effort that it took to feed yourself has gotten less and less and less over the last 100 years. All the way to a point now where you can get on your phone, press a couple buttons, and within 30 minutes or so, food will be at your doorstep. The only walking required to feed yourself is to your front door. That's where we are right now. That's why 70% of men are overweight or obese. There's no effort. It's convenience. It's comfort. It's just eat, eat, eat. Please your flesh. Please your senses. Overload on dopamine. And again, no one's gonna give you a prize for exercise anymore. If anything, they'll look at you weird or attack you or make you seem like you're full of yourself because you take good care of yourself, and they don't. They'll make you seem like you are all full of yourself or vain or whatever it is because you again, are in good shape, and again, most people aren't. We're in a time where body positivity is encouraged, which is funny because everyone talks about body positivity and how you can't talk about, what people look like, their shape, their physique. This really only applies to people who are overweight. It has no correlation to people who are in shape because people in shape aren't complaining about being made fun of because they're in shape. It's people who are out of shape that complain about being made fun of because they're out of shape. But anywho, well, body positivity, you can't say anything because people will get offended based off of your comments or your criticism of their physique, even if it's unhealthy, even if you're saying, hey, this is bad for you. You shouldn't promote an unhealthy lifestyle. But it's funny because I worked in the music industry and the entertainment industry for a long time. And everyone that entered into the music industry or the film industry that was probably in this category, eventually, once they got money, they lost weight. Perfect example of that is Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill popped up on the scene. He was in Accepted. He was in Superbad, right? And he was, everyone knows Jonah Hill was a bigger guy. But look at Jonah Hill now. He looks nothing like he did when he first got on the scene. The same thing with Mandy Kaling, I think. Mandy Kaling, the actress. There's a singer, Meghan Trainor, all about that bass. Everyone eventually, they all start off that way, but once they get money, they lose weight immediately. They don't stay that way. But when they're that way, it's body positivity. And then they get money and it's nope, I'm healthy now. Even if it's Ozempic or whatever. So it's interesting. But if you want to be out of this category, you have to be less than 200 pounds. The average guy is 200 pounds. That's a waist size of about 40 inches. So, for example, if I go buy some pants right now, my waist size is about 32. So to go from 32 to 40, those are big jeans. I used to wear in high school when I dressed like a rapper in the early 2000s. I would wear 36 waist pants, huge pants. The belt just is saving these pants from falling off, and just pants just completely falling to my ankles. But if you want to be out of this category, if you don't want to be in the average, if you want to be above average in this category, you got to get to a healthy weight. You have to at least be 38 in the waist to start. But that's just one waist size below 40. And like I said, it's really just doing a little bit more than the bare minimum. If you could do just above the bare minimum, above average, everything in this is going to be about doing something just a little more effort than the norm. That little bit of effort will put you at a 38 waist. And that puts you above average. That's it. So go from 40. If you're at a 40 now and you can get to a 38, you're already above average and you're above the 70%. You're at least working your way there. That'll put you ahead of the majority that are in that category. What you can do about that is consistent nutrition. You watch your diet and be more active. We'll talk about that a little more as we continue on. So, speaking of being active, number 2, almost half of adults do 0 exercise in this country. Almost half. So again, 50%. Let's just round up. 50% of adults don't do any exercise at all. Only 24% of those adults do some kind of cardio and strength training combined. Like some just do walking, some do strength training, but this is combined. So 24% do both cardio and strength training. So a quarter of Americans, 25% of Americans do a combination of cardio and strength training. Whereas 46% of adults do no exercise at all. Just 0. That's the half. Nothing. What do you think they're doing otherwise, like instead of exercise? Netflix, whatever streaming service you could think of. It's really just TV. Like, there's nothing else that people could be doing other than watching TV, sitting at home watching TV. Maybe some are in their garden. Maybe some are working on their car. Maybe some are on the phone with their friends, family, whatever it is, right? But there's only so much time that you can give to those things. And exercise doesn't really take that much time at all. But yet 50% do 0 exercise. 25% of Americans have a gym membership. So again, a quarter of Americans have a gym membership. But out of that 25%, 33% only go once a week or don't go at all. So a third of that 25%, they don't even go to the gym. They go once a week, if that. So again, now you can see how people can end up being obese or overweight because they're not really showing up to the gym either. Even if they have gym memberships, they're not doing what it takes there. So how do you beat that, right? How do you be above average in this category? You at least have to do about 150 minutes of movement a week. And that's not a lot of movement. Like, let's be honest. That's really just 22 minutes a day. And you can round up, 20 minutes is the bare minimum. I mean, you could just, walking a mile is about 20 minutes on the treadmill. So, if you can bump that up to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that's, again, you're just going to continue to be more and more above the average because the average is barely doing anything, if anything at all. Let alone if you throw in lifting weights, like putting in some kind of strength training. That's going to put you in the top 25% of all adults in this country. That's how low the bar is. You'll be top 25% just by doing 2 workouts a week with some kind of strength training, like lifting weights or something like that. Calisthenics, resistance bands, whatever. So, and it's crazy to think about that because let's think about it. We just talked about how almost half do no exercise at all, but almost nearly 7 in 10 adults do 0 muscle strength training activities as well. So even if you have people who do some kind of exercise, I see a lot of people going for walks. Like that's like one of the most popular things that I see people doing. All ages, young, old, I see people going for walks. And again, good as they should be. At least, someone's doing something. Walking is incredible. It does a lot for you, for your heart, helps you lose fat. It's therapeutic. It's a bunch of benefits to walking, but there's even more benefits to combining that with some kind of strength training, doing some kind of fitness, like some weights, resistance bands, calisthenics. Nearly 7 in 10 of those do zero muscle building activities at all. No weights, no calisthenics, no anything. No strength training. And it's one of the most well-documented drivers of long-term health. Like, it boosts your metabolism. It boosts your confidence. It helps you dress, like, your clothes fit better. Your appetite changes. Your palate changes because your diet changes, because you know that you have to eat a certain kind of way when you're working out. You know, you gotta, if you're trying to gain weight or if you're trying to lose weight, your diet's gonna correlate with your fitness goals. Yet 7 out of 10 do none of this. So again, for you to be above average, top 10%, all you need is two of them things, 2 workout sessions a week with some kind of weights or body weight. I'm a big advocate of calisthenics. Why? Because you can do it almost anywhere. Calisthenics is just your body moves. You know, your body moving. I heard someone explain it this way. Strength training or weight training is the weight moves. Calisthenics, your body moves. So push-ups, squats, pull-ups, like your body is moving. The bar is staying the same, it's not moving. The floor is not moving. Whereas weights, dumbbells, bench press, all of that, like the weight itself is moving. But that requires a gym membership or the equipment which you would have to have at your house or wherever you're at. The calisthenics you can do anywhere. So if you do that twice a week for 30 minutes or more, I would encourage you to do it between 30 minutes to an hour if possible, but at minimum 30 minutes. That's the bar. You're already here. Everyone else is down here, man. 7 out of 10 are down here. So you already just up here from doing 2 workouts a week, which you can if it's your priority. So shifting gears, we've talked about fitness, we've talked about exercise, we've talked about being overweight. Let's talk about finances. 43% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency if it happened to them today, right now. Tire blowout, transmission, I don't know. You find out your water bill is higher than it normally is because you bust a water pipe, or someone needs some help in your family, whatever it is. 43% can't cover a $1,000 emergency, which we know at some point or another is going to happen, because that's just life, right? Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong at some point or another, especially because we know that most of the stuff built and sold in this country, and as well as other countries, but sold primarily in this country, are built with the philosophy of planned obsolescence, which means they're designed to eventually fail so that you have to buy it again. Because how can a company stay in business if what they sell never needs to be bought again? So that's why you buy something, you get the warranty, and as soon as the warranty ends, it breaks. That's just how it works. So you have to understand that at some point or another, you're going to have these emergencies, yet most people don't have that $1,000 to cover that emergency. So how can you beat this? How can you level up and get out of this category? Well, let's start with the minimum, right? What can you put away? Can you put away $100, $200, $300 out of every paycheck? Think about it. Even if $1,000, even if people can't cover $1,000 for an emergency, the median American has an emergency savings of $500. They're one surprise bill away from just complete homelessness. Like, most people are one paycheck away from homelessness. They miss their paycheck, they can't pay rent, they can't pay the mortgage, that's it. Now they're on the phone with the landlord, the bank, trying to figure it out. But you can beat this. Start small. It's all about habits, right? My little sister right now just got her master's. She's working, she's making some good money. She's been reaching out to me about how to manage her investing. And I told her it's simple. Just do it in percentages. Based off of what you make, take out 10%, 20%, whatever the percentage you're comfortable with, and you're going to invest that in a series of places. You're going to take of that 10% or 20% or more. You're going to split that percentage up into other percentages. For those of you who don't like math, this is also why you may be broke. But I told her you need an emergency savings. So of that 20%, let's say 5% of that 20 is going into your emergency fund. Then you want to put another 10% in, whatever it is, your business, your stock market, high risk ETFs, something's going to get you higher return. And then on the back end, you put the rest of the percentages in some kind of long-term retirement account, life insurance, whatever, right? But the point that I'm making is percentages. Take out 10% of your check. Pay yourself first. Why are you in a rush to pay everybody else? They're not in a rush to give you any money. Why are you in such a rush to give them money? Pay yourself first. Take out $50 out of every paycheck. Put it aside. That's how you can start building up your emergency fund. $20 if you have to. $5 if you have to. If you don't have it, which I know you do, you have it. But you're going to have to cut out some things if this is important to you. Because again, if you want to be top 10%, then it's going to require some things being cut out of your life. So cut out the drinking. Stop going out so much. Stop eating out so much. Stop going on as many dates. Stop chasing these girls. Cancel your OnlyFans. Whatever it is, you're going to have to cut out some things to make room for your savings. Because again, at some point or another, you're going to need that $1,000. And we don't want you to be part of this 43% that can't cover an emergency. So number 5, only 46% of people in this country have 3 months of savings. So we just talked about $1,000. 3 months? 3 months? Only 46% have 3 months of savings. Let's go back real quick. 43 couldn't cover $1,000. And the average savings was $500. 46% have 3 months of savings. I might need to fact check that again because I don't know. That seems kind of high to me. But let's entertain it. If it's more than half, and mind you, I did do some research, so we'll run with this as truth. But if that's the case, then more than half of Americans that are adults cannot survive 90 days without a paycheck. I think this number is high. I think this number is high. I don't think 46% have 3 months of savings. I think that number is closer to 10%. 10%. I'll fact check it. We can offline take a look. But if this were the case, if this is true, again, if someone gets laid off, if they get sick, anything that comes along that they'll be in like a financial chaos. They'll be in a tough spot. They'll be pushing homelessness, if not bankruptcy. So you gotta, you don't want to end up here. You don't want to stay here. You don't want to be here. So again, you start with the emergency fund. Let's get that $1,000. From there, you need that cushion. So you need 1 month of expenses because that emergency fund is just emergencies. That's just something that randomly happened. That's not your 1 month of expenses. That's not your cushion. So then you want to get to 1 month of cushion. That's going to be all your expenses. So that's your rent, your car payment if you have one, your phone bill, your food, your utilities, like all your essentials. That's what needs to be saved up. So whatever you spend total in a month on all of those expenses, you need an additional month of that saved up. And number 3 is a 3-month buffer. So, a lot of times when you read any type of personal finance books or study it, a lot of people say you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. I've heard people say you should have 12 months of expenses saved, which again, it sounds crazy, but I've seen people get laid off and not find jobs for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. If you get on unemployment, they're only going to give you so much of your income. So you have to have some money saved up. This is also why I'm a big advocate of having some kind of side hustle, not putting all your eggs in one basket. But again, this is the majority. So let's get you out of that majority, because this is not the good majority. This is the majority you don't want to be in. We want you to be in the top 10%. So to do that, again, it's going to start with putting some money away out of every check, cutting out some bad habits and introducing some new good habits. You can also automate this. There's plenty of apps now. Your bank account can do this. Even your job can do this. At least some can. Well, they'll take the money out for you. They'll just split it and put it in certain places for you so that you don't have to think about it. I mean, again, smarter, not harder, right? Whatever makes sense. But if I were you, and if you weren't good at math and numbers, then I would look into doing something like that where you can set this up to be an automated thing so you don't even got to think about it. You don't even see it. And then you don't go touch it when it's being allocated. You leave it alone. So some of you will say you can't put any money away because you don't make enough money. The median income for a man in this country is $65,000 a year. That's the median. You are striving to be in the top 10% of men. So that threshold is almost double this. It's not exactly double, but it's at least six figures. So someone making $65,000 a year, that's putting them about $1,250 a week, right? So that's about $5,000 all in. 5 times 12 is 60. So that math is correct, right? And this is just the median. So if you are at 65,000, you're in the middle. If you are below 60,000, 65 to 60,000, you are below the median. You are below average. And that means that something needs to be done fast, drastically and fast, to get you from below average to the average to above average. So to be in the top 10 to 15% of men, you at least need to be at six figures. You at least have to cross that $100,000 annual income threshold. And it can be done. It's going to take some effort. Again, it's going to take some work. It may require you to go back to school. It probably will require you to go back to school. It also may require you to relocate and to move and to live somewhere else where the jobs pay that much more money compared to where you live. If you live in the middle of America, in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be hard to find an employer that's going to pay you this much. Maybe you can code or do some kind of cybersecurity or do something that's remote and they pay you remotely and you get paid this much and you don't have to move. Or you start your own business and eventually make this much. But that's likely what it's going to take to get to that threshold. But once you cross that threshold, and again, you're talking, if you're at 65, you're talking $35,000 more. That's not a big jump. That could be done. That's not a big number to make an extra $35,000 a year. That's not a big number. And if you think that's a big number, then you have to change your mindset. You got to think big, because $35,000 is not a lot of money. Like realistically, that's like an extra $17 an hour or something like that. Realistically, you can go get a part-time job paying $16, $17 an hour and make that on the side and hit that threshold. Or you can go make that extra $35,000 doing your side job and then invest that money into something that'll help you build a business or get a skill set that'll allow you to get paid the full amount of $100,000 a year so that you don't have to work two jobs. So for you to get out of the median, to beat being average in this category, try to at least make 70,000. Like if the median is 65, then to be above average, you need to be at 70, maybe 75. It's not a big stretch. Like I said, the bar is so low in all of these categories. You just need to do more than what everyone else is doing. They're doing the bare minimum or no minimum at all. You need to be doing above average in all of these categories. and then you'll excel. And then as you continue to do that, once you get more further down that path of leveling up, you'll continue to keep leveling up because you know what you needed to do to go from 65 to 75 or 65 to 85. You know what it took to get there. And once you get to that 85, you're like, dang, I only need another 15,000 and I'm at 100. Like, you'll hustle and find ways. You'll keep repeating what worked to get you to that 100,000. Like I said, it's just going to take time. So one of the last categories that you can beat the average guy in easily is attention. Reading. Look, reading for fun is down 40% in the last 20 years. People don't read anymore. When I was growing up, there was always an expression that said, you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. And that was when I was a kid. This is before social media. And of course, that's a racist statement to say, but now that applies to almost everybody. People aren't reading anymore. People aren't even learning anymore from books. If it's not an Instagram reel, a YouTube podcast, or on TikTok, people aren't even finding out about anything anymore. That's everyone's source of knowledge and information. So much so that they had to come up with misinformation because so many people were only learning and believing what they see on social media. You have to read. You have to read books. You have to study. You have to read things that are going to stimulate your brain and keep your brain able to focus on things for longer than 5 seconds, because people's attention spans are as short as a goldfish these days. That's why every reel, short, whatever it is that you watch constantly changes. There's constantly movement and captions and music and sound effects and B-roll and all these other things, because people get so bored that you have to keep their attention by all of these different flashy lights and distractions. People are distracted. If you want to excel, you have to read. You have to study books that will help you improve as a person. There's plenty of them out there to do so. Some of the popular ones are Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's an easy one. Think and Grow Rich. As a Man Thinketh. 10X, Outwitting the Devil. These are 48 Laws of Power. These are some very classic, can't go wrong, wise books when it comes to self-improvement and self-development and personal finance. Read these books. Look up more books like them. Look up books that are just fiction. Regardless, read something so that you aren't just looking at screens all day, whether it be at your job or at home on your phone. Get your attention span in order so that you have the ability to focus and lock in. Because once you can lock in, that's how you're going to build that business. That's how you're going to get in shape. That's how you're going to manage and be more in charge of your finances. That's how you are going to be able to be more present in your relationships with your family, your kids, your girlfriend, or whatever. You have the ability to focus and concentrate. Most people can't concentrate because they're distracted by everything, everywhere, all the time. Think about how often you just pick up your phone just to look. Just to look. How many times do you open certain apps just to open it, just to look? How many times do you go to your fridge just to look when you know what's in it already? People are distracted. And this society continues to do that. They continue to build platforms, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, where all you're consuming is internet content. You're connected to the internet some way or another. You watching me right now is you connected to the internet, but at least you're listening to something that's going to help you improve as a person and as a man, because you could be listening to rap music and them telling you how to go shoot somebody up, shoot up the ops and smash somebody's girl. Like, if you're into that, that's cool, but that's not putting no money in your pocket. It's putting money into their pocket because they're getting paid off of that stream that you just gave them, or that view that you just gave them on that music video, or that merch you just paid for at their concert or from their website. But you didn't make no money off of that. You didn't get anything from that at all other than entertainment and a bad influence to make you think that that's how you should be living your life when you broke. And they not. They can talk like that because they got money. They're not really out there doing half that stuff anyway. And if they are, they got the money for it. You trying to live like rappers, basketball players, entertainers, but you broke. You dress like them, you talk like them, you try to do everything that they do, but you broke. Why not try to get money like them? They also, a lot of times, especially when it comes to athletes, they're in shape. Why not try to get in shape like them? Get on body gain. Get your weight up. Get your muscles up. Get rid of that stomach. Stop smoking so much weed. Stop drinking so much alcohol. Improve so that you're no longer in the median, in the average, so that you can become that top 10%, 5% male. That's how you really dominate in this game of life that I'm always talking about. Because it's a game. You have to be in shape. In 5 categories: physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You have to be fit in all 5 of those categories at all times. And when you are, you will excel, you will thrive, and you will be in that top 10%, if not top 5. But that's what it's going to take. Read some books. 1 book a year is a bare minimum. I know people that read a book a month. Exchange being on your phone and watching movies and binging Netflix and doom scrolling with reading a chapter. Just read a chapter a day. So if you realize that after going over those categories, most of these had something in common. They didn't require any real talent. You don't really need to be talented to do any of those things. You didn't really need much money other than to save. And even saving, you don't need to save a whole lot. You just have to be intentional about what you're saving. All of these take about 30 to 60 minutes a day. Reading, exercise, looking at your finances, whatever it is. It's not a whole lot of time either. It's not like I'm asking you to do a lot. You can really just, it's an hour minimum. And all of these things are pretty repeatable. They're boring. They're simple. That's why most people probably fail to do them, is because it seems so simple that it doesn't really require much effort. And because it doesn't really require much effort, they give it no effort. But when you do give it effort and you're consistent at it, it'll start to compound over and over as you do it, as you repeat, as you do it again and again and again. Those positive results will start to compound. Your body will start to get in better and better shape. You being in better and better shape is going to result in you being more disciplined. The more disciplined that you are, the more that physically, the more that you're going to see discipline start to rear its head in other parts of your life, including your finances. You're going to be way more mindful of what you spend money on. And then when you're more mindful of what you spend money on, you'll start using money that you're saving to stop spending it on things that aren't giving you any return and investing it in things that will give you some type of return, like books and education, training, courses, certificates, coaching. Now you have invested in something that can help you become better and get to you where you want to be in that top 10% faster. And now your mind is in the right place to be in that top 5 to 10%. Because it is a mindset. You can't be in that top 10% thinking a certain kind of way, because you won't last. You won't last. Even the people you're around, like, you won't fit in. You won't make the cut. You're faking it. You everything about you will change. Who you are now won't be who you are when you're top 10% or less, top 5, top 1. But it all starts with fitness. Fitness is the front door. It's the most visible thing. It's measurable. It proves you can do things that are hard. It proves that to yourself that you can still show up every day and do the bare minimum to take care of yourself. So like I said, you're closer to the top than you think. Even if you're below average, the bar is so low. I'm telling you, the bar is so low that 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, you can literally be top 10%. I've done it. I've been there. I've went from making $40,000 a year to 60 to 80 to 100 to 200. Like, I've done it in a matter of like 6 years. I've done it. You can too. You just have to be intentional about it and have a plan. The thing is, most of you guys don't have a plan. You're just winging it. You're just winging it. You're getting up every day and just doing what feels good. You know, just going with the flow, stuck in bad habits. You don't have any guidance. You don't have a coach. I've spent, oh my gosh, I've spent at least $30,000 to $50,000 on coaching to get to where I am right now. At least that, let alone how much time that I've spent, sweat equity, learning how to do stuff, studying stuff, volunteering to do stuff. Some of that I had to learn on my own, and some of that I needed someone to help me because I just didn't know what to do. I needed some kind of coach, and I'm a very, very big advocate of having a coach at all times. If you think about it and you listen to some of these successful people out there, you know, the big influencers and the gurus that you tend to see on the internet, they all have coaches. They all pay $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 to be in these mastermind groups and to go to these conferences and these meetings so that they can surround themselves with these people and build those friendships. Your net worth is your network. Your network is your net worth. So again, you have to change the mindset of what's expensive. You know, like I said, $35,000 is not a lot of money. Investing in coaching can't be like, this is, I can't afford it. It's not an option. It's mandatory because there's so many things that you won't know unless you learn from somebody else. And most people aren't going to just give you the game for free because they paid for coaching. They did all the hard work. They went through the ups and downs to learn that stuff. And you're paying for their experience so that you don't make the same mistakes that they had to make. You can expedite your success by having a coach. So if you need help, if you want some kind of guidance, if you need someone to help you put together a plan, then click the link in the description box below and book a call and set up a game plan call with me. And we'll do a 60-minute call where we'll look at your current situation, look at your goals, and we'll put together a playbook so that by the end of that 60 minutes, you know exactly what you need to do, what changes need to be made, what steps need to be taken so that you can get to where you want to be, which is being a top 10% man in this country. Believe me that life is better on this side than it is on the other side. It is. Life is way different when you have options to do stuff, food, traveling, who you want to date and be with, what you want to wear, where you want to live. Everything changes when you are top 10%, let alone top 5. So if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll continue to post videos like this to help you get fit for the game of life because that's what it takes for you to win, thrive, excel, and dominate. So until next time, see you soon. Peace out.